All right, so today we're going to be reading Matthew chapter 7, verses 12 through 14. So, pretty short, but pretty darn important. So, I hope you all are having a good day. Rainy day here in South Carolina, but it's been a good day. Just got a lot of the, household chores done and been hanging out with my son and made some dinner. And look forward to my girlfriend and her daughter getting here shortly. So just wanted to take some time to read this and just kind of see where it goes. So Matthew chapter 7, verse 12 says, "So whatever you wish that others would do to you, do also to them, for this is the law and the prophets. Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction, and those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few." So, again, short, but man, that's very powerful. And when it comes to life and how I try to live my life, and really I believe how we should all try to live our lives, it's really the meat. Whatever you wish that others would do to you, do to them also. So that really ends up making it a challenging thing, because, oh man, I guess if you want to take a look at like your self-worth and how you feel about yourself, some people, and I've been at points in my life where I didn't necessarily think highly of myself, and I did feel like I deserved to be treated poorly. That's not right. That's not correct. It's, in order to build self-esteem, I have to do esteemable things. And I think that it's important that, obviously this meets us right where we're at. It's the only way that it can, is it meets us right where we're at. But it's so important that I've had some kind of growth and I've had some kind of progress made, before I start treating others the way that I want to be treated. Because for a long time, I didn't give a shit about me. I would do things that were selfish and self-centered to make myself feel better and to get my own way, but I would also have times where I felt like I didn't care about myself at all. So that's just a very just skewed way to live and a very skewed way to view yourself. So for me, it was so important that I hooked up with some people that were living in a new way, hooked up with some people that knew the scriptures, that knew God's truth, that were actually living it. I hooked up with them and I listened to what they said and I watched what they did. And, and it's through that practice that I started to build some self-esteem and, actually start to like myself and forgive myself. And those are still things that I struggle with, but it's been a process. And, sometimes, it's just I got to focus on the small victories because they do stack up. And at the end of the day, progress is progress. One step is still one step forward. So I guess what I'm getting at is that it's so important that I'm aiming at the truth, focusing on what's good, trying to do the next right thing, believing in God, trusting in Jesus, and really trying to practice deal to the best of my ability. And then I'm going to build a little bit of a character. I'm going to develop some integrity. I'm going to develop some honesty, empathy, patience, tolerance. And it's when I develop those things and I start to wish those things for myself, that's when I feel like I'm really most effective in being able to do it for others. And then it goes on to say that enter by the narrow gate, that this ain't going to be easy. A lot of the things that I try to do today goes against like the the way that I'm wired. You know, I mean, I grew up and I saw certain things and, you know, certain behaviors, and I admired them, man. And I practiced those things. I practiced the wrong thing for a long time, just thinking about me. So that would really kind of hardwired itself into me. So a lot of times when I'm trying to do this new way of living, it goes against every fiber in my being. So it's not going to be easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. The easy way is to give into the old temptations, but eventually for me, it's like I just hit a point where it was either I was going to stop doing that stuff or I was going to die. So I really had no other choice but to turn, and then the beauty is once I turned and started following God and building a relationship with Him and reading these scriptures and reading spiritual literature and trying to help other people, that I realized that that's what I was actually looking for all along. The gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few. I don't think it has to be that way. It just kind of ends up being that way. One of the hardest things to do is change, but it's possible. And for me, a lot of times it's just right here, right now, one breath at a time, 1 minute at a time, not overthinking everything, taking a deep breath, turning my attention to something I can do, whether it be help someone else or anything. You know, I just mentioned I was cleaning the house all day. You know, while I was doing it, I was talking to God, hanging out with my son. But it's the golden rule. I think that means it's pretty important. So I'm going to keep practicing. I haven't gotten this thing down pat, man. This is one day at a time for me. It's a process, and I thank God. I'm grateful. You know, I try to make it a point to thank God in the morning, at night, and all throughout the day, and let Him know how much I love Him, and then also in that same breath receive the love that He has for me and try to give it away. So I hope y'all have a good day. I hope that this, you know, was encouraging to you in some way. I hope it met you where you're at. If you're going through something, just remember, this too shall pass. Such is life. That doesn't mean that it's not hard. Find somebody that you can talk to about it, because maybe they might have some experience, and be that light to lead you out. You don't ever have to go through anything alone. That's a beautiful thing. We have one another, and God's always with us. So with that, we can't fail. So y'all be good, and talk to you next time.